All right, can everybody see my slides? Perfect. All right, so hello again. I'm Alex. Everybody else will introduce themselves as they start talking. And I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about living in Buffalo because unfortunately a lot of you aren't able to visit us during COVID times, but hopefully soon you guys will all be able to join us and we'll have lots of fun in Buffalo. So just to give you guys a little bit of quick view of the beautiful city that is Buffalo, these are the views from the building that I actually live at during winter and both in summer. So you can see the cityscape is just beautiful and we have some really great sunsets. And honestly, from the med school, this is pretty much going to be your view. So just be excited that, when you're doing some work, you're also going to be looking at a very nice view. But just to give you guys a little bit of bird's eye view about the area that Buffalo is actually in, we are perfectly situated to actually access a lot of these really great cities. Toronto is only about an hour and a half away, 2 hours, depending on how fast you drive, which gives you a really nice big city to go to explore, when the border does open up. It's unfortunately closed right now. But we also have a lot of cool New York cities that are really close. So Rochester is a really fun city to go explore. Syracuse isn't too far away. So really nice New York, kind of smaller cities, a little bit smaller than Buffalo, if you want to get out to explore what's around New York. But we're also really perfectly situated to actually access Pennsylvania and Ohio. So Cleveland's not too far away. Erie, Pennsylvania has a Krispy Kreme, so you can take your vaccine card and go get a free Krispy Kreme. I've driven down to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia before, so we have perfect access to a lot of these really big cities. So it's nice that Buffalo is sort of more of a medium city. It's a good place to live and to work. But if you want to go, see a smaller city, see the sights, or go to a bigger city, it's really easy to access some bigger name cities. But when we actually focus in on Buffalo itself, so this is a little bit of the city map overview of just the greater Buffalo area. So this little blue dot right here is actually the med school, which is situated in the Niagara Medical Campus. So other buildings that are in the medical campus are Buff General, Oishei Children's Hospital, the Center of Excellence in Bioinformatics and Life Sciences. So there's a lot of really great collaborative science going on between, clinicians as well as scientists. But the nice thing about JSMBS is it's also in this really cute neighborhood called Allentown. So there's a lot of restaurants and bars to go to when things are a little bit safer. So it's really easy to, leave work for a little while and go get lunch with your colleagues, or, leave work at the end of the day and go get a drink and just relax. But we can see this really nice line that just leads down, which is Main Street Route 5. But the cool thing about it is that's actually also the metro line. So we have a metro that connects UB South Campus, which is right up here at the top of the map. And then if you actually go even further, we actually have UB North Campus, which some of you may visit at some point, but it's just too big to show up in our map. But the metro actually connects UB South Campus all the way down to the lower downtown Buffalo. And the med school is actually directly on the metro line. So we actually have a metro substation right under the med school. So if you are living up, closer to South Campus where it's a little bit of cheaper rent, it's really easy to catch the train down, get right off at the med school and come in and work. So really super convenient. All students get a free Metro Pass that can be used for the Metro as well as the public bus system. So it's really easy to get around in Buffalo. A lot of these places are also within walking distance, but we also have the train and the bus system, which Corey, I think, will tell you a little bit more about later. So we surveyed a bunch of our students to actually find out where a lot of our students are living. So we made this sort of little heat map so you can see just the concentration of where students are within Buffalo. So you can see most students live in this little Allentown district, and that just really makes sense for most of us because it's an easy walk to work. And there's a lot to do downtown. So, work and having a good time are all in the same place. But you can also see that a lot of our students are concentrated along the metro line because it's really easy to walk to the metro from most places in the city and actually get on the train and come down and go to work. So I will now pass it over to Corey, who's going to tell you guys a little bit more about the actual potential neighborhoods that you might live in and some pros and cons about them.
Hi, I'm Corey. I'm a fourth year student in John Panapinto's lab. I actually don't know what you guys have seen today. I saw John's in his office, which means he was probably on this call earlier. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come in. Alex took that last slide from me, so I gotta figure out where we are and what comes next here.
It's been a long time. I forgot which slides I did.
Yeah, I thought you were just gonna keep on going, actually. So, hold on, we'll back up quick. So we wanted to give you, for those of you that have not been able to come to Buffalo or don't know anything about Buffalo, we, as Alex had said, we sort of put this heat map together to give you an idea of where most of the students live in Buffalo, and sort of where not to live. So we're going to give you a little bit of an idea of what it's like to live in some of these neighborhoods. Like Alex said, particularly Allentown, that's here in dark red, the Elmwood Village in yellow here, and the Delaware Park area up in the orange. So we'll give you a little bit of an idea of what the neighborhood is like and what the cost of living is in these neighborhoods. So the first one we're starting with is Allentown, and as Alex mentioned, this is where the school itself is located. If you look up here on the map in the top right corner, the medical campus is at the very right edge of this red highlighted area. So this is by far the closest neighborhood you can live in. It's also fairly close to downtown. The like downtown proper area is just below the actual red highlighted area there. So you can continue taking the metro downtown, or you can walk down there if you'd like to do things. You could live down there, but it's sort of prohibitively expensive, and that's why nobody does, unless you want some like super expensive loft that you can sort of get down there. So this is like the closest downtown area that you can live in Buffalo. So this area, as we said, it's called Allentown, and that's because it's situated on Allen Street. So Allen Street runs east-west across Allentown here, and it's right outside the window here. We can look straight down. Allen Street, and the street ends at our building, right where the metro runs underneath the building. So they intersect. So this is a popular area for young professionals because of its proximity to both downtown, people who work downtown, as well as the medical campus that we're on. I live over on pretty much the furthest west side of this that you could, and walking slowly, it's about a 10-minute walk across. So it's a fairly small area, very close. And then the Allen Street itself it's lined with bars and restaurants. It's a little bit more of as far as the bar scene goes, it's a little bit more of a hipster bohemian scene. There's a lot of bars that have small concert venues in the back. So you'll get lots of music, lots of art up and down Allentown. As far as the cost of living goes, in this rough area, you can get a studio apartment for about mid sevens, or a 2-bedroom up near 1,600. And I can tell you from experience and looking around at places, 1,600's on the high side. I have a pretty dang nice place over, like I said, over on the west side of this red highlighted area, and we pay $1,300, my roommate and myself, for a 2-bedroom, and it's pretty nice. So 1,600 will land you something that's very quite nice. So that's about it for Allentown, and then we'll move on to maybe. Did you take control back? No. So we'll move on to the Elmwood Village then. So this is the next most north area from Allentown. So again, it's highlighted in red up along the up on the map here. And one thing to note before we move on, that metro line that runs underneath Main Street runs at the very eastern edge of this area. So this is another place that it might not be walkable. At the lower end of this Allentown area, it could be walkable, but as you start getting up further north, it'd probably turn into about a 20-minute walk. So you could take the metro a stop or two north and then get off and then walk into the neighborhoods. And you'll see that's sort of a reason why a lot of the students live situated along this metro line. So as you move further north, you're getting further away from downtown proper, so things get a little bit more suburban. Again, this area is called Elmwood Village, and it's named for the main street that runs through it that has all the bars and restaurants on it. It's called, shocker, Elmwood. So this is a little bit more laid back scene than the Allen bar scene. But again, bars, restaurants, They have the Elmwood Art Festival is one of the big things that takes place on Elmwood throughout the year. Did I just say Elmwood or Allentown? Because they're both things. There's an Allentown one too. They both happen. It's great. Yeah, so walkable. So as you get further from downtown, it then gets a little bit cheaper. So studios don't change a ton, still in the mid sevens range, but you're starting getting into 2-bedroom apartments at a little bit lower. They're saying 1,300 here, and that's probably still also accurate, I would say. I think the 1,600 on the previous slide it's a little bit high, but walkable. Definitely, if you bike, it's definitely easy to bike to, and accessible from the metro. So further north yet, moving further from downtown Buffalo, is going to be the Delaware Hurdle area. And what's sort of tough to see now that this area is highlighted in is the middle 50% of this highlighted area is actually a park. So it's Delaware Park. It contains a zoo, huge open green spaces. I think Kyle and Alex probably both mentioned this a little later on, but some of the things that go on in Delaware Park. So this is a very nice area because it's all these streets surrounding this park, lots of trees. It's a very nice area. And as you move further from downtown, it gets even more suburban yet. There is a street, there is sort of a strip that runs through this area. It's called Hurdle. That's why it's mentioned in this, and that's the equivalent of either the Allentown Allen Street or Elmwood Village Elmwood. Hurdle is what contains all the bars and restaurants, and it sort of runs east-west at the very north edge of this highlighted area here. Again, it has all the bars, restaurants, movie theater, all the sorts of stuff's there. And again, as we mentioned before, same thing with Elmwood Village. The metro runs along the very east side of this, so you can take the metro up and then walk into a neighborhood. And so this is a neighborhood that starts getting a little bit quieter, more families, and cheaper yet. So studio you're still in the $700 range, but you can start getting a 2-bedroom apartment a little bit further away from downtown proper, close to $1,000. So that number might be getting a little bit dated now. Prices are prices are on the rise everywhere, but you can definitely get a nicer place a bit cheaper the further you move from downtown proper. There we go. It's moving very slowly. So further yet north is going to be this Kenmore Tonawanda area, and it's at the very edge of the screen up there, highlighted in red. This gets real suburban. You're in like full-on neighborhoods at this point in time, and there isn't really sort of a centralized bar restaurant scene. But the advantage of that is things get cheap. So it's kind of hard to tell, but the metro does not access this area. And this is, you could walk it, but it'd probably take you like 90 minutes. So if you're going to live up in this area, it's pretty necessary that you have a car. So the advantages though is, I mean, again, studios still around $700, but 2-bedroom apartments, you're starting to get into below $1,000. So it's definitely a cheaper area to live. If you're more concerned with saving money than being in close walking proximity to things. But again, you're either going to have to use public transportation or public transportation as in buses, or drive yourself to campus at that point in time. So this is, and if you do end up on our south campus, this area is a little bit closer to our south campus, so it makes more sense for people that might be situated up there. For us downtown, it gets a little bit inconvenient. So getting around the city, we've mentioned this a fair bit already. There is an abundance of public transportation options. We've mentioned this metro a ton of times. Back when we were moving from South Campus into the new city, or into the new building down here in the city, we would take the metro. I mean, I've taken the metro back and forth between campuses like 4 times in a single day. It's a fairly short trip between campuses. We used to take it a lot. Now that the pandemic hit, I haven't been on it, but it's still there. People still take it. We have a pretty good bus infrastructure. I know a good number of faculty members actually who don't want to drive in, they take the bus system. So there's a lot of very fast lines that it's fairly safe. UB itself has some shuttle systems. So if you live in, if you want to go from campus to campus, or if you live in particular areas, the UB has its own shuttles that will actually move you from there. Not that long ago, we got Uber and Lyft approved in New York City or New York State. It's probably been long. It feels like it was not that long ago though. So we use that a lot, especially after hours. The metro does shut down around midnight. So if you're out getting around after that, you're definitely going to want to use some ride sharing. And the city of Buffalo has a huge initiative to put lots and lots of bike lanes in throughout the entire city. So there's a lot of people putting in a lot of effort to make it very bikeable. So if you want to live on a neighborhood that's maybe a 15-minute walk away, it turns into like a 5-minute bike ride. And the streets are pretty good. There's a lot of infrastructure projects happening here in Buffalo to keep things on the up and up. As far as driving yourself goes, parking down around the Med campus can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. First and foremost, there are parking garages. They're a little bit expensive. I think they end up being maybe about $700 a year. I think they're $3 and change a semester, and they are subsidized a little bit for Alex.
I'm sorry, I was trying to give Kyle access.
I'll take you back, Corey.
Take me back. So they are subsidized. Wrong back.
Oh, sorry.
They are subsidized for us a little bit. We get some amount of money off, but it's still fairly expensive to pay $700-ish a year to park down here. There's not a ton of on-street parking. Right around the school itself, there's metered parking. So you can pay a couple dollars a day to park on the street, but you got to fight for spots and then pay for it. And then if you move a little bit further, like 3 or so blocks from the building itself into the neighborhoods, it's free parking, but then you're really fighting for parking. So it's best to live somewhere close, or alternatively, you can go drive to one of the metro stations. If you're coming in from an outside area, drive to a metro station and take the metro in the rest of the way. And that way you don't have to fight people for parking down here. That is about it that I got. So now Kyle, you can do the thing.
All right. Sorry, Corey. Thanks. So now I'm going to talk to you guys about a little bit about what there is to do in the city. And we've kind of broken it up into inside versus outside of the city. So kind of downtown proper versus, the surrounding areas. And then in the winter, which is, half the year, and the summer, which is like the other half of the year. So first, inside the city in the winter, there's actually a lot of really fun things to do. Some of this stuff in this past, kind of COVID year, we're a little, sidetracked. We didn't get to do a lot of these things, but hopefully this year they'll be kind of back up and running. So a couple of places shown here. This is Canal Side. This kind of first picture on the left, which is host to a variety of different events. You can go and do ice bumper cars, which are hilarious. You can go curling. You can play broom ball, which is also really funny. It's like hockey, but with this horrible broomstick instead of a hockey stick. And it's just hilarious to watch people play. You can actually play hockey, and there's a ton of different ice skating time slots. You can see how busy it usually gets in the winter time. On the top right, we have a place called Riverworks, which hosts a bar, an arcade, a restaurant, an indoor like climbing facility, concert venue, ton of really cool stuff. And it's right on the Buffalo River. It's kind of across the way from Canal Side. And then Rotary Rink is another cool place that a lot of students like to go to in the winter time. In a normal year, ice skating there is free. You just have to bring your own skates. Or I think you can rent skates there as well, but the actual ice skating is free. You can just show up, and as long as there's space, you can hop on. There's also a host of indoor festivals and concerts. There's like Soup Fest, since it does get pretty cold in Buffalo and snows a lot. We'd like to try to take advantage of that as best we can. And KeyBank Center, where the Sabres play, hosts a variety of large concerts. Riverworks hosts kind of smaller venues, and there's places like Town Ballroom, which host even smaller venues, but they operate all year. Then outside of the city, if you're into skiing, if you're into snowshoeing, if you're just into kind of hiking in general, there's a lot of really cool places to check out outside, especially for skiing. We have Holiday Valley, Kissing Bridge, Buffalo Ski Center. If you're into skiing, snowboarding, any of things like that. Around the holidays, we have something known as Festival Lights, which a lot of places have. But a lot of the suburbs around the city host different little kind of festivals of lights where they have, drive-through areas. You can drive through with your family in the car, your friends in the car, check out all the cool different light displays. Especially if you go more towards Niagara Falls, like the Canadian side, they do a really cool festival of lights throughout the winter, and that's only just a few minutes away from us. And then just to mention also some snowshoeing and tubing that you can do, places that are like half an hour, 45 minutes away from the city, Chestnut Ridge Park, Beaver Meadow, some really nice places to take advantage of the snow if you're into that kind of thing. Then in the, if it moves, slide. And there we go. Now we're in the summer inside the city. And those same kind of spots in the winter that we're popping, now in the summer are even more. So Canal Side, pictured in the top here, hosts a variety of different festivals, fairs. This is like a fair that came through town. They had a circus come through town not too long ago. They also host right along the Buffalo River water bikes, boat tours. They have this like tiki boat, which looks hilarious. I've never been on it yet, and I really want to. Where you can get like 8 friends and go out on the water and drink and just kind of boat around. There's also a $5 concert series. They used to be free. Now I believe they're $5. But we bring in quite a number of decent acts for only $5. And it's really nice. It can fit like 10,000 people down in this park, and you can just kind of pack it and everyone's out for a good time. Riverworks, which was also mentioned before, kind of that arcade and bar and climbing center. Now in the summer, you can kind of take all of that and go outside with it. They open up the Buffalo River for kayaking. They have this kind of free tip-in point for anyone to come and use. They turn these silos next door, right next to it, into kind of a rock climbing wall. They actually put on all the different kind of holds for rock climbing. They have attachments to the top to keep it safe. They have zip lining you can do there. They have a ropes course. Again, concerts kind of all year long. And then also inside the city, the Buffalo Zoo. Corey had mentioned this briefly in Delaware Park. We host the Buffalo Zoo. You can go see all the different animals. This also goes for most of the year, but it's really nice in the summer. All the different animals are out and about. And they actually host a couple of events for like young professionals to go like after hours, and you can see different animals when the zoo is very kind of quiet, and they have like food trucks come in and bring drinks and bring food and whatnot. And festivals. Normally, like every weekend in the summer, there's a festival. If there's like too many, you got to pick just like 1 or 2 to go to. It's actually a ton of fun in a normal year. So hopefully this year we can get back into it. Like Wing Fest, the Garden Walk, where a bunch of people in like the Elmwood Village and Allentown area open up their backyards. All these like really fancy gardens that they take care of, and you can just kind of go check them out. Some really neat stuff that happens in the city. And outside the city, hiking is absolutely gorgeous. There's a bunch of really nice state parks and different hiking trails. Some of them may sound familiar. The Niagara Gorge is very close to Niagara Falls, so you can go down and see the rapids and hike down the gorge. Pictures on the left here is this Letchworth State Park. That's a little further away, but if you're going outside the city with friends, it's not too far away. Chestnut Ridge Park in the Eternal Flame Falls is shown here. Super cool if you've never been to this place before, if you're from outside the area. There's this little kind of flame behind a waterfall in like a grotto up a stream that you have to hike to. It's this really neat hiking trail, and there's just kind of this natural methane leak that you can just kind of reach back in and light it if it's out. But it's pretty much always on, which is really cool. And then picture on the right here again is Letchworth State Park, but just to show some of the really nice kind of hiking, especially in the fall. The foliage here is absolutely incredible. And then, let me just take that control back. And we would be at a disservice to you if we didn't tell you about the food here, especially the wings. And I will argue with anyone if you want to. We'll hang out after regarding that these are the best wings, and also pizza in the area. Aside from that, there are a lot of different options ranging from casual restaurants to high-end dining, whatever you're really interested in. There's a lot of options for a lot of different kinds of food. In this area in particular, there's a lot of food trucks that are popular, and they regularly visit the medical campus. And on Tuesday evenings, you can go to a place called Larkin Square, Larkinville, which is about 10 minutes away from the downtown campus by car or by taking the metro down and kind of walking over. And there's a host of like 30 different food trucks and a concert that usually gets put on, and a bunch of little bars in the area. Super cool. If you are into craft beer, the craft brewery scene is booming. They just keep kind of popping up everywhere, and they keep expanding, and everyone seems to really like the kind of local beer scene here. If you're into more wine, the Niagara Wine Trail is really nice. It's one of the only kind of regions in the world that can create ice wine because of the temperature here and how it fluctuates, how it gets really cold really fast. So they have some really fancy wine on par with France and Germany in this area in particular. And then again, just to kind of touch on the food festivals, Wingfest, Soupfest, there's a Taste of Buffalo, a lot of really cool things over the summer and really all year regarding food. And I think I have in here also, there we go. So pre-COVID nightlife, things that we all kind of used to go out and do, some pictures of us actually out on the town having fun. So there's a couple of places in downtown Buffalo. They're kind of split up into different areas depending on what you like. So I have listed here in the top right area known as kind of the Chippewa Street area. This is Sky Bar. So if you're more into like clubbing, that's what this area is for. And you can kind of see the views from here. Gorgeous. Allentown, which Corey had mentioned, a place called the Pink. You know, you kind of go once and then you never go again because it's just kind of a scary place. But it's a place that everyone has to go to in town. On the bottom left, we have Mizuta Chow's, which is cool, like Japanese barcade. So really cool drinks, really fun, like old arcade games, and they have these pink stairs that everyone in this city likes to take pictures at. I never can remember where this bar is. This was a hazy night, but I'm pretty sure it was Frizzy's, and we were out playing pool. That's Chris. On the bottom right, this one's one of my favorite bars in the area. Lucky Days is cool, like whiskey bar. It's like a speakeasy on the inside. Super cool stuff. And then where Corey mentioned earlier, also Hurdle Avenue. Host to a variety of different bars and restaurants, more of the kind of relaxed scene, like bar hopping, friends kind of going out for a couple of drinks. And one of the fancier places in town, it's on top of one of the really new hotels. It's called The View, and they have this really fancy sky or rooftop bar and like fire pit and all this really neat stuff up there. And the last thing that I have is sports. Go Bills. In this area, we have an NFL team, the Bills. We have an NHL team, the Sabres. Maybe next year they'll be good. We have a lacrosse team if you're into lacrosse, and those games are actually a lot of fun for students. They have deals through UB, through the GSA, which Alex will talk about in a little bit, for a lot of these different sporting events and where we can get tickets for cheaper. If you're into hockey, again, we have the Sabres. We also have the Buttes, which are one of the first NWHL teams, one of the only women's hockey teams in the country. We host one of them. We also have baseball team, the Bisons. FC Buffalo is our premier soccer league team. And there's also in talks for a larger soccer team. The Bulls, if you're going to UB, then you probably should support your school. And we have a Division One, a variety of different Division One sports. Our football team and our basketball team are really good. And if you're into local sports, if you're into playing sports yourself, intramural, extramural, whatever, there's a couple of really cool local sports leagues. One of which Game On is one that I play with, and they have like kickball and broomball and kind of fun things you can do with friends. And I think this is where Alex picks up. So after you, Alex.
Thank you. Oop, I'm going too far. Also, just FYI, while I'm thinking about it, I called Chris. It's actually at the Pink.
It is the Pink.
That is the Pink.
I'm glad you clarified that.
We got that in our head now.
Now we remember.
All right. So thanks to Kyle for showing us all of like the fun sports and food that you can have and like the winter and summer life that goes on in Buffalo. I'm going to take it. I'm going to class it up a little bit more. I'm going to tell you guys about the arts and culture that we have at Buffalo. So if you guys are really into art, Buffalo is a great place to actually be. We have two really awesome art galleries, the Birchfield Penny Art Gallery, which is more sort of like modern art, as well as the Albright Knox Art Gallery, which you can see right here, has actually some really famous artists in it. Like we have a Picasso, we have a Frida Kahlo. Some really big name art pieces are actually in this little museum that they're currently expanding, so it's closed right now, but they do have a lot of pop-up places, which you can see down in the corner here, where they bring in like artists that they usually would have up on their top floor that they rotate. They have been currently filling up like not abandoned, but like industrial areas. They've been installing a lot of art pieces around, which has been really cool. So if you're into art, I highly suggest checking out both of these galleries. I think both of them have sort of First Friday ideals, where the first Friday of every month, it's free admission, and then you can pay like whatever you want to go see the installation that's going through. But if you just want to see like the downstairs area, that's for free every first Friday of the month. And both of these are right by Delaware Park, which Corey pointed out earlier. And also right by Delaware Park is the Buffalo History Museum. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the history of Buffalo, we are a very historic city. A lot of history has happened here. We have a lot of Niagara Falls underground. We have like Underground Railroad sites just all across New York, including in Buffalo, as well as Niagara Falls, which is right outside of Buffalo. So there's a lot of history to actually learn about. And it's really, it's right by the Delaware Park. So you can basically just hit all these things up at one time. But if you want to leave art behind and you're not tired of science from when you're actually doing science, we also have the Buffalo Science Museum, which is a little more, geared towards families and kids, but still really fun to go to. We do partner with them a lot for, activities to teach the public about science, or like, we have a lot of community organizations come into the med school, so we can increase science communication. So if you're not tired of science yet from doing science, I highly suggest going to check out the Buffalo Science Museum. So I talked a little bit about the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center. There's a lot of history, again, in both Buffalo as well as Rochester. So I highly suggest learning a little bit more about, New York and Buffalo specifically. But if, looking at art isn't your thing, if you want to experience more live art, we have Shea's Theater as well as Shakespeare in Delaware Park. So if you like musicals or just plays, Shea's Theater gets all of the big name touring, Broadway companies. So I've seen Book of Mormon, I've seen Kinky Boots. Unfortunately, this past year, we haven't had anybody able to come around, but I think they are starting up their tours again this September. So hopefully I'll be able to go see some Broadway shows this year. But Shakespeare in Delaware Park is super fun. I think it will be happening this summer. But basically what happens is it's just, a drama and a comedy every summer they is put on. That's free to go to. You just bring a blanket, you bring a chair, you go to Delaware Park and take in some nice Shakespeare. We think it's super fun to bring a picnic to. I think I have a picnic. This is us at, I think it was A Midsummer's Night's Dream, but I can't remember. And so it's just a really fun time, really, fun free activity to do and take in some culture. I skipped it, but we also have a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright properties, which you can walk to and actually see. Actually, if you guys know John Panapinto, he talks about how he lives near one of the Frank Lloyd Wright properties all the time. So they're really cool if you're into architecture, if you want to go see these famous buildings. Also, just in general, Buffalo has really great architecture. So I highly suggest when you get here, just walk around the city and look up because, some of the buildings are really old and also really beautiful. But we also have Kleinhans Music Hall if you want to take in some music. And the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra is a world-renowned orchestra. I actually think they recently won a Grammy. I keep meaning to look this up, but I think they won a Grammy for something recently.
It was Joan Fletta, the director, won a Grammy.
So there you go. They're Grammy award-winning orchestra. I've been there a bunch of times for concerts. It's a beautiful hall, and they're also, super good at music. So, it's not too expensive. It's nice to just take in and sit with everybody and just listen to some music. So, if that's what's something that you want to do, highly suggest checking that out. But beyond that, we also have a lot of activities that UB, as well as your specific programs will put on. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. So like Kyle said, the GSA, which is the Grad Student Association, there are a General Grad Student Association, which is just generally for all UB graduate students, as well as most departments and programs have their own GSA. So like, for example, I'm in biochemistry, we have a biochemistry GSA, and most people will have events through the GSAs throughout the year. There'll be discounted tickets to things like Bills games, Bandits games, Sabres games. There's often discounted tickets for movies, as well as just, I think, like $10 coupons to Chipotle. But you can also get discount tickets to Darien Lake Theme Park, which is pretty close to Buffalo. I think it's maybe like 20, 30 minutes away by car. So the GSA gets a lot of funding to make things more affordable for grad students to go out and have some fun when you're not doing work. They also have a lot of wine tours because I think Kyle talked about how we are in a very nice part of New York where there's a lot of vineyards. So they also have discounted wine tours a lot. And there's also just general parties that the general GSA will put on, as well as specific departmental GSAs will put on. So some of the parties are the Welcome Back Bash, which usually happens every year. I think they'll hopefully have one this year. Jingle Jangle Jam, which we can see was super fun. Get dressed up, around Christmas time and go have some fun with your fellow students. And then of course, we also have a Mardi Gras party. And then we also always have a big Halloween party every year. It's really fun to get dressed up and take over a bar and just hang out with your fellow students. But unfortunately, we are still dealing with COVID. So there may be more virtual events than in-person events, at least for the near future. But that's okay. We still have a lot of fun with a lot of virtual events. We currently have virtual happy hours through PPVS, as well as just departments. So biochemistry, has a monthly happy hour that we all get together over Zoom, have a drink, just chat, see how everything's going on. As well as the BGSG, which we haven't talked about here, but is the biomedical graduate student government, also puts on happy hours. So just all grad students can, interconnect, see what's going on, meet people outside of your department. We also do things like movie nights. So someone will just stream a movie on their computer and we all watch together. And then really fun, we've been having a lot of game nights. So we've been doing a lot of Among Us parties. If you don't know what Among Us, I don't know where you've been on the internet. We do a lot of bingo as well as trivia nights. So, just because we haven't been able to meet in person doesn't mean we haven't been having fun. But I hope soon we will be able to meet in person. I'm very excited about that. But so that's pretty much it for our presentation. So now we will open it up to you guys to ask literally any questions that you may have about living in Buffalo. No questions off limits, but I will remind our moderators that this is being recorded. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them right now. You can also just drop them in the chat. You don't have to unmute yourself. I know it's kind of nerve-wracking among all these new people.
Is Brittany coming back, or is this the end of the? Do you guys have something after this today?
Pretty sure
I
this is
have a
just
seminar. I have a seminar at 4.
No,
Unfortunately.
we don't care about you.
No, I'm pretty sure this is it.
All right, let me end the meeting.
Yeah, this is it.
Cool. Yeah. So if Kyle and Corey are willing to chill, I'm willing to chill until 4. So if you just want to talk, if you want to ask questions, we're here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like, what part of the med school are you all? Like,
What departments? I'm in. What did you? I don't know what you guys had today. Did you see John Panepinto at all?
No, I
No,
think
I
they just
think
said this.
Interesting. All right. So I'm in microbiology and immunology. So we're situated on the 5th floor. The whole micro department situated on the 5th floor of the med school here.
So I'm in biochemistry. The biochemistry department's on the 4th floor, but I'm actually on the 5th floor because my specific lab used to be in the Center of Excellence, and we just recently moved over to the med school. So I'm hanging out with Corey, even though I don't want to.
And then I'm in biomedical engineering, and we have space in the CTRC, which is a building kind of across the street, the Clinical Translational Research Center. And there's a couple of different departments in that building as well, but they do more kind of translational research. Corey is in the med school right now, so if you haven't seen it before, like that's what it is behind him.
Corey, give them a pan overview. Lift up your laptop.
It's like glass Hogwarts.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
There's nowhere to nap.
Nowhere to cry.
There's very few places to cry. Fewer to nap.
I don't know. I've seen some med students just napping on couches. Like, you just got to be brave.
When you're tired enough.
I guess if you don't have any shame, you can nap anywhere you want to. I still have my dignity.
For now.
Maybe not into year 5, but year 4, we're holding on.
Yeah.
Nothing? No questions about living in Buffalo?
Yes, you go, Emily.
So how did you guys go about finding like apartments, and is there possibility of living on campus, or is most of the students living off campus, and how does that?
What program are you coming into?
Medical physics.
Oh, nice. So my friend is actually graduating from medical physics today. He's
Cool.
defending today his
So
PhD.
are you a direct admit into the medical physics program?
Yeah, into the medical physics PhD program.
So I don't think she has access to the all-knowing Beth White.
I mean, Beth is always willing to answer questions.
Yeah. At the same time,
Also,
though,
she's
like
associated with the research and graduate office, so yes, you can ask Beth White questions.
right.
So where are you coming from?
Rochester area, Geneseo, actually.
Geneseo!
Yeah!
Alex.
So you do you want to? Are you asking like how do we find a place to live or roommates or?
Yeah.
All the above. That's
How about just place to find, I guess.
so. I think we all started in a little bit different situation. We entered the program years ago when we were still on South Campus, so things were a little bit different at that point in time. Right now, we've been so that we tried to give you an idea of some of the neighborhoods that are okay to live in, and we don't tell you specifically what neighborhoods to not live in. But if we didn't mention it today, I would be weary of living there. You guys are more than welcome to have our contact information, at least for the three of us. I'm pretty sure that's fine. And if you have a place that you are interested, if you find it on, Craigslist or something, and you are interested in living there, we would be more than happy to look at it and say, good area, good price, or if you're bad area, like way too expensive. Finding roommates is tough. I know I had started to mention Beth White, and she wears a lot of hats, but she's the kind of the director of, I don't even know what her title is. It's Brittany Sanders' boss, who you've dealt with today, or senior. And she has previously put people who are coming in incoming students, she had put them together in contact to see if they were interested in living with each other. That's probably the most of it.
I mean, yeah, I was just going to say also, a lot of the students when they first move here, maybe like the first year, first 6 months, whatever lease they can find. Just go on like apartments.com or whatever any of the websites are just to find some ideas. But a lot of people will make friends in their program. And then the following year or, years, they will move in together at that point. It is more affordable to have a roommate in Buffalo. You can live in a pretty good place regardless if you're by yourself or with a roommate, but you can save a little bit of money if you have a roommate. When you're looking with what Corey was going through with the different neighborhoods, if you go on apartments.com, you'll find some apartments in like Delaware Park area for, $1,200, $1,300. So split between two people is $650, but a studio anywhere is like $700. So it's, it sounds like a lot of people when they come in, they kind of live alone unless they can kind of connect beforehand, like with Beth as a facilitator. And then later on, they'll kind of find someone to move in with so that they're not like, coming into who knows what situation.
Yeah, so I used Zillow when I was first looking just to find apartments, and that worked fine. I lived alone my first year, and then, as Kyle said, I moved in with some people that I knew. It's a lot of fun. It's actually a lot cheaper to live with a roommate, as Kyle said. But I would suggest if you are looking for a roommate, look up Beth White. You can send her an email, but you can also email the administrator of your department, whatever you're joining, and they should be able to put you into contact with either Beth or somebody else that they would know. But there's also Facebook groups that are associated with UB where people post when they're looking for roommates, or they're like looking to find somebody to lease an apartment for them. So I would just look online. There's a lot of these groups that, again, are looking for leasing places or looking for roommates. And you can try to connect with people on there too.
I was going to say something, but then I forgot what it was.
It'll come to you.
Could have been a word.
There's some questions in the chat as well.
Yeah, I was just reading those. So Efren asked, do you have to book? Oh, that's what it was. Do you have to book housing before coming here? So something we haven't mentioned, and because it's sort of inconvenient, is it is possible to live in on-campus housing. That is not out of the question. I know almost nobody that does. I know a postdoc or two that actually live in on-campus housing. It's far, it's difficult to get to, and it's probably expensive for what it is. But that, if you have the university take care of your housing, that takes a lot of weight off your shoulders, not having to pick that up. So it's something you could look into for a short period of time if you wanted to, before meeting people and moving out to find an apartment. So it's tough, but it's possible. So that was in response to Afrin's question of, do I have to book housing before coming in? Yeah, absolutely. I would highly recommend against moving to Buffalo before having a place to live. That you will end up in a tough situation.
And then Namrata, is it difficult to travel by the metro in the winters if we're living at the South Campus? Like you're walking to the bus stop? I guess it depends on the year how bad the snow is that year. But it's not that difficult. So if you live near South Campus, if you're living on any of the side streets, Winspear, Merrimack, any of those kinds of streets nearby, it's a very close walk. So you shouldn't have issue being able to get to the like bus stop or getting to the metro line. Dress for the weather. Have your good winter jacket on, your good boots on. But honestly, once you get on the bus or the UB shuttles, which also go from South Campus to downtown or to North Campus, once you get on those, you're fine. It's really just that kind of quick little travel that you have to do, but it really isn't that bad.
So it was asked, which neighborhoods would you recommend living in? The ones we covered in this presentation, and this is being recorded right now. So I believe it's going to be made available to you again to watch if you want to go back through and look at those with a little bit more of the knowledge of what situation you might be getting yourself into. I know when we're just spitting neighborhoods off at you, it doesn't make a whole ton of sense. So maybe with a little bit more context in the future, those might make a little bit more sense to you.
And like we said, you can always email us or, shoot us an address and be like, is this okay? And we'll be like, yeah, or maybe not.
And sometimes the price is like too good to be true.
And then it's definitely not true.
Sometimes.
As we see time and time again on Craigslist.
All right. We see, do most students walk or use public transport rather than driving? I'd really say it depends on where you live. If you live close enough, most people walk. I know a lot of people that use the metro if they live up closer by South Campus, or if they, there's a lot of like park and ride places where if you live, farther than South Campus up at North Campus, you can drive down, park your car, and then take the metro further downtown. So it's really just depends on how close you are to where you work. A lot of people like to walk or to bike into work, especially when the weather's nice. But like there are places to park if you want to drive in. It's just that you will probably have to pay for them or, search a little bit to actually find a spot if you want to find not metered parking.
Yeah, for example, I park in one of the parking garages downtown. I do drive in because I have family that lives like north of here, so I like to be able to go up and visit them. And it's like $300 for 6 months in the parking garage that I'm in. So it's about $600 for a year to park in this parking garage. But the parking garage always has parking. It is literally connected to the building that I'm in, so I never have to like even go outside. There's like a tunnel and everything. I just go right from the parking garage right into the building, and it's super easy. My friend and my roommate, he drives, but he likes to park on the street somewhere. And his walk in is usually 5 minutes because he likes to park kind of down one of the side streets. And then he walks his way in. So they're both viable options if you do want to drive. And it is nice to at least know maybe like one person with a car so that you can go on all the cool hiking trips that I told you guys about.
To answer the snow cleaning question, it really depends on where you live.
So listen, we don't get that much snow.
It depends on where you live.
No,
the city does not get that much snow.
I think there's this perception that we are just inundated with snow all the time, and that is not the case. We have like 90% of the winter are snowless days. There are days where we do get snow, but most of the time it's not an issue. And then when we do get snow, our streets crews are very good at getting rid of it.
So to answer your question, it is cleaned relatively fast.
I would say that if you've never driven in snow before, the key thing is to drive slow and brake early. Don't assume that you're not going to hit a slushy patch because just because you've cleared the snow doesn't mean that there's not ice on the road. So caution is always key in driving around Buffalo.
And the public transport's pretty good even in the snow. The metro is underground from South Campus to the med school, so it doesn't even impact the metro one bit. The shuttles and the buses, they've been doing this for a very long time, so they're all fine too. Yeah, my sister lives in New York City, so it's she knows. I know what you mean. They have nowhere to put the snow, where in Buffalo there's actually quite a bit of space, so when they're clearing it, they have a lot of places they can put it.
Okay, so to answer about the snow, Corey used to live in the South Towns where they get like 8 feet of
That's-
snow.
That is different.
So that's where the
That's snow.
snow is. Not the city.
Yeah, the city doesn't get that much snow. A half-hour drive south is where all the snow is.
Like 6 feet.
Really bad.
But the city gets like a couple inches and like that's it.
Mhm.
Ew.
How late do you stay at the lab?
It really depends on who you are as a person.
The biochem department usually packs it in about 3 in the afternoon. There's
Excuse
no
me.
one there after 5. Whereas up here in microbiology, I don't know, I've stayed until 4 in the morning.
Yeah, that's not normal though.
Not all-
Everybody will have a day where you'll stay very, very late, but it's not an all the time thing.
Right.
Also, it's different if you're a master's student, a PhD student. The expectation is a little bit different. So you'd be unlikely to find yourself in a situation where you're here for 20 hours straight, unless you want to, which is weird, but it's fine.
But you could. I mean, if you wanted to.
You could.
It's very common for like master's students to be in, like normal working hours, like, 9 to 5 kind of deal. If you have to stay late, you have to stay late. If you have to come in early, you have to come in early. If they have to come in on the weekend, you come in on the weekend, but it's not like all the time. It's all pretty flexible depending on your research and your PI.
Yeah, so I would say for master's students, obviously at work, if you like work or something, you have to work around that schedule,
Right.
or like class schedule. So just talk to whoever you're working with, or your PI, and be like, hey, this is when I can come in. Is that all right? Well, you're about to lose your soul again.
Nah, it won't be that bad.
You're at school.
Make time for yourself.
Yes, have a hobby.
UB is good at least like the resources at UB. I don't think we mentioned any of that, but because we were focused more on living in Buffalo, but there are good resources too if you want, like take a break or go up to North Campus and they have like free massage or like free chiropractic appointment on South Campus. A bunch of cool kind of little things that we get as students.
North Campus is just a different life, man.
That was where I was. That's undergrad, man. It's weird. It's a strange place.
For living with your spouse, probably your best bet is an apartment. UB does have housing that I think are for like families, but I think they're limited and they're probably more expensive than most apartments that you can find. So yeah, I would probably suggest looking for an apartment.
What about like a Collegiate Village? Do you think that would be?
It really depends on your price point. Collegiate Village is fairly expensive, but they do have a bus that runs to all the campuses. So, and it's all, I think, fully furnished. So, it's just really about like looking around, thinking about what you want for what you're willing to spend.
Yeah. Some of the like good streets that you can look like downtown are Linwood Avenue, Elmwood Avenue, Bidwell Parkway, Allen, streets off of those things. Those all have nice apartments, and a lot of the apartments in Buffalo are like houses that have been turned into apartments. So I'm in my apartment right now, but it's just like the second and third floor of a house. And then like another couple lives on the first floor and they have like a separate 2-bedroom apartment. And then my roommates and I have a 3-bedroom on top. So there's a lot of like duplexes and a lot of just homes that have been turned into apartments, which is nice because you have a lot of space then, especially if you're moving with your spouse.
But also, the housing market is booming. So I don't know if that means that it's easy to buy a house right now or hard to buy a house. Depends on
Very
what
hard to buy a house.
Okay.
Very
buy-
expensive.
All right. Sorry, guys. I got to bounce. I got to go to a seminar, but it was nice meeting all of you.
Cool.
Feel free to email me if you have any questions.
Yes, Alex.
I don't know if Corey and Kyle are willing to hang out for a little bit longer.
No,
I have to- Yeah, I'm going to my friend's
I don't
defense.
know if it'll be good.
Wait, Corey, are you leaving too?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm sorry, guys. Shoot us any emails of the questions that you have. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon when you get here.
See you later, guys.
Bye.